how many actual books have you completed since you started writing them?
Oh my goodness! You know, I've been asked that question. I've never actually counted them. Partly because it depends on what you mean. There are books that are original books. There are books that are collections of previous writings, and so on. And there are monographs and so forth. But I've never really tried to keep track. But it's a few dozen.
At this point, which one of all those books sold the most?
Oh heavens! Basic Economics not only sells the most in English. It's been translated into 7 or 8 languages.
What would you say would be the most important thing, and I know this is a simple question, most important thing or things that people who read that book will learn?
Oh my gosh, that is tough. But I guess they'll learn what economics is all about, which is more than just the sum of the topics. And in the first chapter, I point out that economics really, I elaborate on a definition from London School of Economics, that economics is the study of scarce resources which have alternative uses. In other words, there was no economics in the Garden of Eden because everything was available in unlimited quantities. But I think in thinking generally, whether in economics or otherwise, too many people do not begin by saying, what are the inherent constraints of the situation we're talking about? And they act as if, you know, they're God on the first day of creation and can follow whatever policy seems to them best. You know, but by the time when each of us enters a world, it is already completely elaborated and complex before we ever got here. And so you make your decisions within that context. And if you don't think of it that way, you can have all sorts of utopian notions. To give one obvious example, I hear from time to time people complain, you know, that George Washington, Thomas Jefferson condoned slavery. Slavery was there for centuries before George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were ever born. And neither of them thought that the office of the presidency had any powers to do anything about it. Lincoln was able to do something about it because he did so not simply as president, but as the commander-in-chief in a war. And what he did applied only to people who were in rebellion against the United States. But there was no basis otherwise. And so if you can't think in terms of what were the things confronting the people who made decisions, nothing is easier than to sit there today and say, oh, this should have been done, that should have been done. And that's not taking the past as it was. It's treating the past as if it's just the present taking place in earlier times. And that is not the case.
When Yale University took the name John Calhoun off of one of their buildings, what was your reaction?
Oh my gosh. By this time I had given up all hope for the academic world, and so practically nothing surprises me anymore. If we're going to again look retrospectively, whatever reason his name was put on there, it was there. And I don't know that anything that has happened since then has made Calhoun any better or any worse than he was when that decision was made. If you're going to go back, the first that you're so desperate for grievances that you have to go back into history to find them, that really says something.